You've recorded a great podcast episode and you've even edited it, and you thought everything was great, but now as you're listening to it, you notice that one voice is louder than the others and you're not quite sure what you're going to do. Are you going to just blindly try and make changes, or are you going to find a way to get it kind of dialed in and then tweak it at the end? Today, I'm going to talk about that. I'm Brian Ensminger. I'm a podcaster and a podcast editor, and I see this kind of stuff all the time, whether it's a couple of files that were maybe mismatched at the outset, or even files that have been preconditioned that just don't seem to match in the end. I see this kind of stuff, and I've developed some tools and some tips for how to approach this kind of thing. Today, I'm going to talk about why this can happen, and also a free tool that you can use to help you get this all dialed in. So first off, why can this happen? Well, whether you've got a recording where you have two very separate voices, very different voices, maybe one was recorded over Skype and one was recorded in a different location, that kind of thing can cause volume differences. But even if you've preconditioned the audio using something like Auphonic or iZotope's RX7 or something like that, when you get done processing, it's possible that they won't match. And I'm going to demonstrate exactly how that can happen and one of the reasons why. So I've got open in front of me a session in Hindenburg, and I've recorded a bit of my voice. I just read a portion of the Apple Terms of Service for Podcast Connect. Not the most interesting reading in the world. And even though it looks like I have some effects active, they're not active right now. So I have this recording, and in terms of volume, you can't get more accurate than having the same thing again. So I'm going to paste that in. So I've just copied and pasted that. So both of these will be at exactly the same volume. Now, why am I mentioning that? Well, if you've preconditioned the audio, or if you're using a tool like Hindenburg that has an auto level feature that will automatically match loudness on import or after recording, you would think that, okay, well, they're matched, I'm done. If I were to play these back and check them right now, they would be exactly the same volume because it's an exact copy. It's working off of the exact same file. However, during the mixing process, a lot of times we will do things like add compression or add equalization, whether we're pulling things out or putting things in. We can use equalization. There are other tools we might use as well. Well, when that happens, it can change the loudness profile of what we're playing. And so, as an example, I have this particular piece right here. I need to reset this to 0. So this is the original recording. Just play a second of it. This recording is for the purpose of demonstrating. Okay, so I have that. Now, I've applied some equalization and compression. I bumped up the low end, about 100 hertz to give a little bit of power. I pulled out a little bit of the 2K because my voice can be a little bit nasal, and then I added back in some air. Excuse me. And then also there is some compression on this. As part of this is basically just like a channel strip. So when I play that back, you may not hear the volume difference a lot. This recording is for the purpose of demonstrating differences in volume after EQ and compression are combined, and a demonstration. Okay, so having that equalization and compression changes the perceived loudness of that file. If I go over to this file, and let's just say that I'm not very good at equalization, and so I've decided to apply a different curve to this one. So I've dropped out all of the low end, which is where a lot of that power is. And then I've also dropped out a lot of the high end, which is where all the clarity is. So basically we end up with something that sounds a little bit like a phone call. This recording is for the purpose of demonstrating different. All right. So these two recordings originally sounded exactly the same. In fact, I'll go ahead and play those now if I can zoom out far enough. I've deactivated all of the effects. This recording is for the purpose of demonstrating. Oops. Thought I'd turn that off. Let's try that again. This recording is so exactly the same. Now, one of them is going to be perceived as louder. This recording is for the right. So now when it comes time to mix, you go, well, wait a minute, these don't match. So what can you do? Let's assume that you actually wanted them to sound that way, but you still want them to be clearly heard. Here's what you can do. I'm going to add a master track. Depending on the software that you're using, you may already have a master track enabled, but I'm going to add one. And in Hindenburg, there's actually a built-in loudness meter as part of Hindenburg Journalist Pro. and it'll work just fine. However, if you're not a Hindenburg user, that's not going to help you. So I'm actually going to go down to the Ulean loudness meter. They have both a free and a paid version. And all I'm going to do, and this is super simple if you haven't ever tried this, I've got the loudness meter on, and I'm only going to listen to this track. There's nothing else, but I'm going to go ahead and solo it. And I'm going to play about 10 seconds of it. This recording is for the purpose of demonstrating differences in volume after EQ and compression are combined, and a demonstration of how you can adjust loudness settings between two similar tracks. Okay, so we're coming in at 20.7. So we've got one track that's at 20.7 LUFS, or minus 20.7. Now I'm going to go to the other track, assuming I can scroll far enough. And I'm going to reset this meter back to 0, and I'm going to play this one for about the same length of time. This recording is for the purpose of demonstrating differences in volume after EQ and compression are combined, and a demonstration of how you can adjust loudness settings between two similar tracks, or two tracks that used to be matched that are no longer matched after they've been processed. For today's reading. Okay, so this one's coming in at minus 26.6. The other one was minus 20.7, I believe. So I'm going to grab this fader right here for the track. It may be in a different place on your DAW. And I'm going to add 6 decibels, I think is the most that I can add in Hindenburg. Oops, it zoomed back out too far. I'm going to reset this, and I'm going to look to see where we are. And I'm going to go ahead and play this back at nearly double speed just so that... This recording is for the purpose of demonstrating differences in volume after EQ and compression are combined, and a demonstration of how you can adjust loudness settings between two similar tracks, or two tracks that used to be matched. Okay, so minus 21.4, still a little bit light. I'm going to go back over here, solo this out, reset, and I'm going to play this one also at double speed, and my target is 21.4 or thereabouts. This recording is for the purpose of demonstrating differences in volume after EQ and compression are combined, and a demonstration of how you can adjust loudness settings between two similar tracks, or two tracks that used to be matched that are no longer matched after they've been processed. All right, so minus 20.6. I'm going to pull 1 decibel out of that. All right, oops, 1.5. Let's try it. There we go. Minus 1, and if I run this one more time, we should be pretty darn close. How you can... Oops. This recording is for the purpose of demonstrating differences in volume after EQ and compression are combined, and a demonstration of how you can adjust loudness settings. Okay, so we're pretty darn close. Generally, I think that within half a decibel is pretty good. It's going to be barely perceivable difference between the two. I realized that I didn't test the whole thing. Now, some of you audio engineers out there right now are listening to this and you're going, but you can't just trust the loudness meters. I get it. I understand that using the LUFS meter is not going to give us everything, but what it is going to do is get us close enough that we can use our ears to tweak it that last little bit if we need to. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, why a loudness meter? Why can't I just watch the peaks on the meter here? Well, the problem is that's not measuring loudness. That's measuring basically voltage or wavelength. But the way we perceive sound isn't the same as the way the voltage in an old analog mixer would have worked. And so you need to use something that's going to measure the perceived loudness, and you're just going to compare the two against each other and get them as close as you can. You're not looking necessarily for perfection. Like I said, I'm usually happy with them being within about a half a decibel of each other. You might be happy a little bit wider, but you definitely don't want it to be 6 decibels or 6 LUFS as it was when we were, when we were measuring before. So if you get that dialed in a lot closer, it'll be easier for people to listen to it. Your show will sound better, and it'll frankly sound more professional. If you found this valuable, or if you know somebody that you think would benefit from it, I'd ask that you do a couple things. Give me a thumbs up, and also share it with somebody that you think might benefit from it. If you would like to find more of this kind of stuff, you can find me at toptieraudio.com. That's where you'll find more YouTube videos, as well as the podcasts that I produce, short form tips and mindset for podcasters. It's called 1000 Podcasters, also at toptieraudio.com. And if you're a Hindenburg user and you'd like to connect with other Hindenburg users, hindyusers.com will take you to our Facebook group where you can connect with us there. Thanks for watching. Now go out there and make a great podcast.